Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Space Engineers. I hope everyone has had a good first week of the new year, or whenever you're watching this. I hope you're having a good 2025 or beyond. With the new year comes one thing, and that is more custom suspension designs, because who doesn't love custom suspension? So I've come up with a couple of unique designs. We got two large grid ones and a small grid one. And yeah, for those who don't know, this is the Phoenix. This is my large grid rover for my current nomadic series. It uses custom suspension, and there was a couple of issues with it, such as bowing due to the weight of it. So I was messing around with coming up with a couple of different solutions that may work better than this design. I've been messing around with lots of medium wheels purely because the actual strength of a medium wheel in proportion to its size is way better than the large 5x5 wheel proportional to its size. So, been messing around with that. I've come up with a slightly refined arm design. So this uses a hinge rotor system, blah blah blah, which attaches to the bottom arm, and then these two arms are just to make sure that it travels vertically and all that. Then it's got three center wheels. It's got another suspension block which sort of pushes this part down, and they're as close together as physically possible without touching. And just to make it clear, well, I have shown off this one and the smaller one actually on shorts. I love to do little teasers, so if you've seen them and been wondering how I've built them and all that. Unfortunately in this video I'm not showing it off, but if you guys have some interests of seeing how you build these kind of designs, let me know and I might consider doing it. I know I need to do an updated video on some of my other custom suspension things, due to recent updates have changed, or not recent ones, but what a couple in the past have changed how wheel blocks are have different hitboxes and stuff like that. So it's a bit harder to place them, but it's still possible. I've been messing around. It's very much still possible, and it's just a lot about which order you place blocks in rather than if it, it's weird. So, this design here. This is a simple design. We have a nice little test track over here. So we're going to do a little drive just to show off how this thing works. It's not too complicated. This seems probably dangerous trying to drive over a lump. Let's just delete them. Okay. So again, all of these designs use whip subgrid wheel control script due to them all being on subgrids. You wouldn't be able to control on wheels otherwise. Yes, I could use a WSD converter and set up the overrides on the wheels without using a script, but a subgrid script controller is just easier. Sorry if you guys are on console. But yeah, this design is quite nice. All the wheels steer, because why not? And let's just try and get a nice angle. So you'll see each segment. And this design has a lot of compression, as you can see. All of these wheels are staying in contact with the ground pretty much the entire time. But that's kind of what happens when you have really, really long arms like this. And then we're going to drive up onto this part. And yes, all of the arms are each fully independent. So you can so it can just grip to whatever terrain it's like. So as you see from the front and from the side, pretty good. And this design has been tested to drive at over 100 meters per second, which is quite nice. Don't get me wrong, it's not the best. It has flaws. All of these designs have flaws. But to be honest, most of my enjoyment comes from just trying to make them in the first place. In the shorts, this reminds me, I have had a couple of people say that, oh, you can't mess around with custom suspension like this because it will lag PCs. I currently have, you know, 3 different ones in this world, plus a bunch of other stuff, and I'm getting pretty much max simulation speed. That being said, I do have a fairly powerful PC, but overall I haven't noticed anything particularly destructive in terms of performance. But it is satisfying. It is very satisfying. And I do have a nice little cinematic drive of this rover, as I'll have for all of them, so enjoy. And here's a bit of a closer look of the actual suspension. It's actually a really nice arm design. It's actually fairly compact. And yeah, it's not that complicated. There's a hinge there, so this whole section can pivot. And then it's just got like almost a tank track style wheel setup. A couple of batteries on it just to keep the weight low. And then it's just a T-piece which attaches to the arm and attaches to the body. These cargo boxes are purely just to add weight, so they're just full of nothing. These got stuff in? Yes. It's just to add a good amount of weight. Also, this design is apparently driving off. Oh no. Let's just delete that. So this is where we get on to design number 2. Don't worry, we are getting there slowly. Design number 2. Again, a bit of a different design. I've forgotten to paint this. There we go. So the different colours sort of show the different grids. So you've got the orange grid, which would be the majority of this actually. So imagine I don't have orange. Alright. Yellow will have to do. Forget what I said. You've got the yellow grid, you've got the blue grid, you've got the red grid, and you've got the green grid. That's a tongue twister. So I am using another little exploit-ish thing. So the entire weight of this vehicle is on these two wheels here. So this bar connects to this rotor, and this block connects to this, and then they're attached in these hinge points to the plate, and then from that plate they're attached down into these arms, which are attached down into the wheel segments. And as you can see, there is 8 segments altogether for 2 of these modules. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, I'm not surprised. But this design is got 2 things going for it. One mega thing, which we'll come to in a second. However, it can also, this blue bar can also tilt. As you can see, it's basically parallel now. If this side lifted up, that side would go down, and vice versa. Now this one's driving. Ooh. Are we going to see a bit of wobble? Maybe? There we go. You can see it a little bit. Yes. It has a little bit of wiggle. Don't know why it's driving off. It's interesting. Again, these arms offer a nice amount of suspension. As you can see, this whole top section can also move up and down. See if I can get a bit. There you go. You can see the blue section going up and down. Yes. This design has a lot of suspension. And then it comes on to the really, really cool thing. So from a Phoenix, I've always had a lot of people saying, don't just steer wheels, make the entire, like, custom suspension thing turn. So that's what I've done. Ta-da! So because I'm using the thing where the wheels can steer, I might as well go all the way. So now the internal, basically these wheel suspensions which are attached to the blue grid can steer. And it allows you to have this really, really weird steering mechanism. And that's what this entire design was really based on. So, I did it. I did it. Let's just try and center onto this part. A little test track. And then again, we will do a nice little cinematic in a minute, showing off this design driving around. So, ooh, hello. Rotor. Just realised these aren't all off. There we go. Let's just make sure that... There we go, that'd be good enough. Make sure some offsets run. And yes, this mechanism isn't quite as nice as the first one I showed, because it's obviously just got that solid 6 wheels. But it definitely works. It doesn't really like this type of terrain at all. But this platform is very stable. Like, there's a lot of suspension acting here to help. But yeah, the overall driving, it steers. Obviously, the faster you go, this shallower it steers. I really wish that was a setting on wheels that could turn off, but it's not. So obviously, now it's this steepness, but the second that you even go up to like 20, 30, it's pretty much completely cancels out all steering. Oh well. But yeah, again, this one is a little bit over complex. I will be the first to say that, but I do definitely like it. Like I said, it pivots on these rotors here, which I 100% could push these wheels in and have a hinge directly below it. That wouldn't really affect anything. These blast door blocks here have to be a subgrid. As you can see, they're attached from these 2 hinges onto the blue section. Otherwise, apparently they would entirely just pass through these wheel blocks, which is not ideal because obviously that's what I'm trying to use to keep at least a little bit of strength. And then obviously these are all just toggled off because it helps with the pivoting factor. Like I could probably definitely show it. Let's just do a bit of this. Good enough. So yeah, obviously like this bar can pivot, which then puts weight onto this part, so it pushes it up. And none of this blue section has a hitbox with the yellow section, because it's a subgrid of the yellow section, which means there's no collisions. Right, roll the cinematics of this one. And last but not least on this big empty now platform, we have this design. Now, the whole premise here was to design a custom suspension which was as compact and small but also offered a good amount of flex as possible. As you can see here, it can lift up more than a half block if I was to actually sit in the seats. Oops, hello. And drive forward. You'll see it's got a good amount of flex in it, and this isn't even really stressing the wheels out yet. But it's a nice design. So it's a nice 10x10 design, as you can see here. Really smooth in terms of each independent wishbone suspension. It uses the same design as the first one in a sense to create a, or at least it uses a just suspension arm with a rotor head attached to a rotor so it can pivot, and then it's a it's a tri wishbone. So you've got two lower arms and you've got an upper arm. And then yeah, these ones are pushed out by a block. I could probably make it smaller, maybe. The reason that these hinges aren't just directly on the back of a wheel like here, on these blocks, is because I want to push them in by a block just to make it as small as possible. So this is where this design came in. I have been messing around. If you look at this design, this one is slightly different. So this one, the top arm is a block higher. And that is just to try and test if it's a little bit more stable with a taller arm than if the top arm was, you know, only one block separation between them. Basically just a bit of geometry testing. This design has, again, mass blocks just to keep the weight down. But, yeah, it does work nice. Like, I'm sure if I jump off this, you'll get a nice... Yeah. Oh. Nice. For those who don't know, damage has been enabled this entire time. Right. Spawn that one back in. And again, I made a nice shorts showing off the capabilities of a suspension like this. But it does have the issues, as you saw there, is wheels can just fall off. And I think that's just to do with like subgrid damage and this game being slightly funky. So, yeah, is what it is. I'm really, really looking forward to Space Engineers 2 and the updated physics. Being able to mess around with subgrids way better. It's going to be so exciting. I do have an upcoming video, well, fairly soon, where I want to talk about some things that I would love to see in the game. And if you guys have any things you personally would love to see in the game, leave it in the comments down below, and I may add it into the list of things. I've already got like 20 or so things I would love to see in the game, but let's see what you guys come up with as well, because that's always fun. But again, you can see this. It's a really smooth suspension, this one. Like, I'm very happy with how stable it is. There's no clang, nothing. It just drives. It's a little bit wiggly, as you can see. But this, if you look, can you see how the actual suspension arm wiggle, like, pushes in then? That's when I think a longer arm may be better. But I don't know. I honestly... As for this Phoenix, you've already seen it before. You know how good it is. But it wouldn't be fair to not show it. This is actually the most up-to-date version of a Phoenix as well. If you guys haven't seen the last, or one of the last videos, I built a missile turret. I think I've uploaded one since then. I don't know. I can't remember. I kind of bulk record sometimes. Yeah, this is just a beast. Like, look at first person. You can barely really tell you're driving over anything because this custom suspension just absolutely absorbs everything, and it's not even being pushed. Like these wheels can go like you can sort of see towards the back here. They can go all the way up into the body. Oops. That's not ideal. Don't mind me, I'm just trying to brake my custom suspension apparently. They're driving off the course. Oh well, that's why I have blast doors. Boost out of it. Ah, very nice. I love this design. It needs some refinement to push these wheels in maybe a bit and try and find a way of almost adding more wheels, but I built this purely for the looks. It's not the most functional out of any custom suspension, but it is nice. But yeah, that is the end of today's video. I purely just wanted to show off some nice custom suspension. If you guys, as always, want to see a tutorial on any of these things, like I said, let me know, and I'll see what I can do to put one together. I'm already in the works of making another tutorial for the other thing, like I said. But things take time. It's these custom suspension things. It's a lot of messing around with very small parts and things and stuff, and yeah, it takes time, alright? But that is where we're going to today's video. Hopefully you did enjoy it. If you did, as always, remember to hit that like button. Helps me out more than you think it does. And shows that you want to see more custom suspension. As always, my name's been Quantum Chief, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!